Time to give it to y'all. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Good people, how you guys doing out there? I see y'all. Today is Monday, and somebody just posted this wonderful post. Her name is Didi. This is my girl Didi, and she said, "Today I plan on being as useless as the G in lasagna." And so that's kind of my sentiments. I thought I was going to be kind of useless today, but I'm not. I'm here serving a wonderful purpose. My name is Ladosha Wright, aka Key Lolo, and that's my partner over there, my PNC, my partner in cosmetology. And you guys are listening to our 59th episode of the dumbest that people say about Black hair, and we are going to have a wonderful informative. So this is a very much informative podcast about the Afro Hair Summit. So we got a few moments to wait for some people to get all juicy up in the chat. So what we're going to do as we be as lazy as the G in lasagna, or useless rather, as the G in lasagna, let us listen to a little bit of Rachel Evans' sister. Let me do your hair, and you guys just sit back and relax, because we're going to have a wonderful podcast about why do we even need education on Afro hair. All right, sister, let me do your hair. You ready, Cheryl? Cheryl.
I was ready.
Oh, okay. I'm like, Cheryl,
yes.
What's going on? Here we go.
No, I ain't gone. I ain't gone.
Hey, y'all just come on in the chat. If y'all got some leftover, maybe y'all might have a little bit leftover Memorial Day food. Y'all might have some macaroni and cheese. Go on and heat it up right quick in the microwave. If you got some water, put it up. Come on and push that earbud in and enjoy this wonderful podcast. Her did. I know some of y'all in the chat want a beautiful hairstyle.
Sister, survivor of what you've been through, heartache and struggles won't get the best of you. I want to help you. Let me help your light to shine through. You'll be so very happy if you would let me do your hair.
Let me do your hair. Let me do your hair. And let me do your hair. All right. Welcome. We're talking about that 59th. Try now one more time. My boss just hopped in the chat. I see you, boss. How you doing out there? Bam. All right, all right, all right. That was just like, that melodic, section going
Hmm.
towards the end. It really does remind me of a time back in the day where people, I don't know if people still do it, you get in your car and you
Yeah.
just go for a good old fashioned ride. You didn't. Anybody remember that? We used to just go for a ride. I don't know, do people
Right,
still go
right,
for
right.
rides anymore? But I guess I'm telling my age. But we actually look forward to it. There was nowhere to go. We just, one end of the freeway back to the other. We may, sometimes might go through the neighborhoods that had all the big houses, and
Right,
you
right,
just
right.
you just go for a ride. So again, if you guys are loving that sound, that's by the one and only lovely Rachel Evans, who was so kind to allow us to utilize her music to help get you guys in the groove for America's favorite podcast about Afro hair. We are just going to proclaim that because we're talking about it like nobody else. And so today, we promised you guys that after last week's discussion, which sure, I got a lot of phone calls about plantation beauty. Um, why do you think people were calling me up? It's like, Ladosha, what are you talking about? Plantation beauty. What was it about that title? Like, what made you pick that title, Plantation Beauty?
Because I think we need to go back to the scene of the crime.
Now
That's
do
where,
you guys see why we're America's favorite podcast? Like, who wants to go there like that? We typically
well,
don't go back to the
right,
scene of crime like that, but this is a
right.
different way.
Well, and kudos to a gentleman named Kofi who expressed some concern about some of the myths and sensationalism, impressionistic writing style of that era,
Hmm.
and how, as time goes on, things are picked up, things are added, or things are subtracted. And so we begin to, use our faculties and our emotions,
Hmm.
right, to, you know, trying to soothe our um, interactions with each other. And I think that how we interact with our children, our mothers, our fathers, in our community at large, and then we're just trying to make it day to day. And I think that the word nappy was his concern, and because and just explaining that, and there's a and every system that we have today came off the plantation.
Hey, all right, brother Kofi is in the chat. What's up, brother Kofi? We're so glad to have you with us. Cheryl was like, "Hey, Kof." Yeah. So Kofi is one of I call Kofi and his Kofi Pasta research team, the Masi Warrior Clan. These are a group of, when I tell you these guys are like dedicated, and they like Chuck D, taking no prisoners, taking no shorts. They really, really want to know the other side of Black history, African history, West African history, that just doesn't get talked about. And so, what's up, Vidal? I see my sweetheart, Miss Vidal, is in the house. We got LinkedIn. I love my LinkedIn people. What's up, LinkedIn? So Kofi is just one of those people who I really admire because he's not afraid to ask the questions like me. So that's why my alter ego is Key Lolo. Like, I'm smart enough to know I'm dumb enough to not know what I don't know. And a lot of people don't want to do what Kofi and I we like to do. We like to ask, like, well, wait, how you know? Ain't that right, Kofi. We're not afraid to ask those questions, whereas people will walk out of the class and will talk about the educator, behind their back, and the educator will never know how they missed the whole class. And Kofi and I, we're like, we ask it. So Kofi had a question about, how did Cheryl know that white people didn't create the term nappy hair? And I thought that was a really good question, because as we're going to find out in our topic today about why do we need Afro hair education, I hope that you guys are going to really, really enjoy the platform and understand why Afro hair education is really, really important, not just for Black people, but for any and everybody who is working with, they're talking about, they're writing about, they're interested in, it's on their hair, or just plain on, they just want to know about Afro hair. We hope today's podcast, which is our 59th episode, is really
Woo!
going to help, just enlighten you all and get you all really excited. If you're going to be buying tickets to the Afro Hair Summit, of course, you're going to visit afrohairscience.com. If you're going to just listen here on the platform before you make that decision, we're going to ask you to hit that thumbs up button. Our third co-host just came in, Sandra E. Sandra, if you don't come in on a Monday, we gonna feel some kind of way. I hope you let your family know. Listen, somehow I'm the honorary co-host of America's the dumbest shit that people say about Black hair. So I gotta show up at least for 30 minutes. So welcome. We just love having you in the chat because Sandra is like Kofi and I. She knows what she knows, and this is a platform, for people who really want to know more. And you can be bold enough, or just and you're just inquiring. Maybe you just really want to know. You're safe here. You can question Cheryl and I. We're not going to be the least bit offended. You see what she put? You see what she put in the chat? They know the drill. Okay, we're gonna get back straight. We're gonna get back straight. So let's get this conversation going about Afro hair. So to help get the conversation going, I thought what better way is to give people who are watching this podcast and this live stream a backdrop. I'm not going to go into the books. I just want to show you. This is one of the first editions of, it's called the Standard Textbook of Cosmetology. And this is by Miladies. Okay. There she is, Milady. So this book was actually gifted to me on Twitter from a young lady whose mom had passed away. And she sees me on Twitter always posting about hair. And she said, "Hey, you want this book?" And I said, "Sure." So this book is it's I forgot to see, but it's pretty old. I think it dates back to, hold on guys, just wait. Bear with me here. This is going back to 1954. So we're talking about 20 years since the original book. So this is pretty old, okay? So, and then we're going to move up a little bit here. Now, this isn't my book. This is Denise West's book. She's going to be a part of the book bar at the Afro Hair Summit. And so this book here, this is 1972. This is back when Butterfly Collars and Bell Bottoms was out. All right. And then we're just going to move right on up. You guys kind of know the rest, right, where I'm going. So here's the modern day book of cosmetology. You see what's happening now, right? So Cheryl, to people who are saying, I think you and Ladosha are kind of off your rockers because Ladosha just kind of chronicled some old books in cosmetology going back. And if they missed it back in the 50s and the 70s, they have Afro hair. in the new millennium. So let's start right there, Cheryl. What is cosmetology for people with Afro textured hair today? Because if you look at the cover of this book, you have to admit it looks pretty multi ethnic, multicultural. It's definitely on the trend. You got some weaves and some blondes and some asymmetrics. They don't have the natural hairstyles on there, but it looks pretty.
Now, first of all, they don't have curly hair at all. I don't care if it was a white person or a black person, or they don't recognize it because what does it stand for? Milady stands for standard cosmetology. And when you have and look up the word, the etymology of standard, that means stand in place of. Every other difference does not matter. The only one we choose stands. Standard. So standard cosmetology only recognizes the hygienic history of Europeans. Period. So it don't have nobody with no curly hair. It got it's has straight hair on the book. They are married and connected and committed and devoted to that. Period. Period. And they're not moving
Okay.
on.
Okay. Well, now I went to cosmetology school, and I'm just gonna cut through the chase. I was very disappointed. I, I do not speak for the entire cosmetology, people who went to cosmetology school, but I will admit I was very disappointed in the book, and not because it didn't have anything about black hair, because I didn't even know. I was not thinking along those lines. But what bothered me about the education of cosmetology was that it only had one book.
Right.
So for people out here who like, I got my license, Miss Key Lolo, and I'm doing pretty good with that standard education in cosmetology. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Um, where are people today with standard education? And if we just this is helping us move into what's up, Miss Morrow. She said she caught that one. Where are people today with this standard? Because every discipline will argue, listen, you can't get all the information in school. You got to start somewhere. So if you got to start, what's wrong with standard in this type of education? What's wrong with this?
Let me just say this before we go, and I'll answer your question. You may have to repeat it because you know how my brain works. I go off on a tangent. But what is one of the things that's important for Black think tanks, Black scholars, Black researchers, Black historians, Black professors, Black politicians, Black judges, Black attorneys, anybody who is involved with having to connect the dots to Black history, Black filmmakers, Black authors? I don't care who you are. Cosmetologist, stylist, natural hair, doesn't make a difference. You must understand that your major impediment is going to be language. And if you can't uncodify what is buried in the language, regardless if it's education, orientation, legalese, or
All right,
pedagogy, make a
I'm a.
difference. Right. You,
What do you mean by the language? Now you're talking about this key Lolo here now. Come on now, what language? What's
right.
break it down?
Okay. let me get into my key low mode.
Mhm.
What I had
Y'all, I'm
saying,
ready to challenge her. What's up, BFF in Cleveland now? I'm ready to find out what you talk about,
I'll put
Cheryl.
it this way. We think when we research something, we are researching it based on morals. We're basing it on wanting to know more about the subject, passion, and wanting to contribute. When you approach trying to argue, people who are not logical, people are not work, maybe have some cognitive dissonance, and you know they're working within a structural power structure that is classified people to be able to control the benefits, advantages, privileges of the citizenship. Now, what I mean by that, when you say for me to explain standard, right? And what that means, first of all, if you know what the standard, the word was placed there, that's very important why Milady is on the front of the latest book, right?
Right?
And standard is on the top of the older ones.
Ah, you're right. Here's what she's talking
Well,
about. It's not
hold on,
here.
hold on 1 second. No,
Okay.
it's
So
not.
so what she's saying is if you look at the new books, right, the word standard is not on here, right? But when you look at the beginnings of the humble beginnings of cosmetology, you're going to
Sorry.
see the word standard. So
Yeah.
here's from 1950, you got standard. 1970, you've got standard. So
Right.
I do have the books. What's up, Miss Ag? They did take off standard. So we moving on to this
Why you
language.
had right. So then you have the expansion of colored people being included, right?
Right?
Okay. What that means is that they are now in their reconstruction era. Now they're a lot more inclusion, but they're only gonna control, they're still controlling your movements, where you can go, how you can go, what you can do, what you can't do. So now when they just put "milady" on it, it still means standard because now the pictures tell you what the standard is.
Hmm.
Right?
Okay.
Now the standard is in the pictures. Standard means stand. What stands? What we stand for. When people say what we stand for, they are actually telling you that what we stand for is white Christian values. So the principal in Louisiana that saw the boy's hair braided and pulled him to the side and asked him, was he gang affiliated? What she is saying, you are out of the standard.
Okay, all in favor of what Cheryl is saying, because that sounds very conspiratorial. I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Now you have to
I'm just
remember.
come on in the chat. Don't get
Diane,
quiet.
right. Now you have to understand, they're not conspiracy. They are not conspiring. This is a social behavior is what most people call white supremacy. I don't call it supreme because supreme people don't act like that. So
Okay.
I don't get into all of that. But what I am saying to you is when power structures want to keep control over people's movements in terms of when we say climb the corporate ladder. Well, if I control how far you can go because you are classified, I'm going to control you with dress codes. I'm going to control you with standards, rules, and regulations. And so, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what those things are in. And now that the electorate is changing in this country, and the populations look a little different, and everyone in terms of population math and economics and economies and things of that nature, they understand the implications of that. And so, cosmetology, why the Afro Hair Summit needs to also be in concert with these other systems as they expand, right?
Right.
The expansion of them it's important that we do it at the same rate. And I'm also saying to the Pan African and the pro African and the pro African history of philosophers and scholars as well, they have to also come with us and expand. That we want to have this conversation about Blackness and how it acts and behaves, the characteristics of it, the nature of it, the historical.
But now,
Um,
is that too deep? I mean, after all, y'all, right? It's just hair. So are we going a little bit off
well,
like
yes,
are we
well,
making
and
cosmetology too
great
technical
question.
because this is supposed to be, I mean, like look at
Great question.
Ladosha's hair. Like this isn't really standard and up the corporate ladder and so are we as cosmetologists, are we supposed to be that, as you call it, high métier, in our thoughts? Are we supposed to be there? Because
Well, we don't necessarily have to be scholars. What I am saying is that we need to have additional information to undo the system because all they're going to say is the same thing you said. Oh, a hairstyle's immutable. It's just hair. Well, that's not why you built the system because it's not just hair. So now I got to be at least 10 times smarter than your ass just to undo and to get you pulled into the right energy to understand that I know what you're doing. See,
hmm,
I know what you're doing and I know
hmm,
why you did it. You understand? So
hmm,
Black folks are in, and this is for the community that Kofi loves so dear, and we also want to engage with them. Is for us to understand is that when things are codified, that we have to have the ability to decodify it.
hmm.
We can only.
The reason why I say that, I just, and I'm not saying that we're all
Well,
like,
let me ask you a question. Is gray hair standard? You can't even, I mean, gray hair, you feel so self conscious about because it's aching to age. And we have to understand ageism is a problem in America. Ageism. You can't even grow old. And now all of a sudden, everything's attached to you. Oh, you're not thinking as well as you used to.
oh,
Oh,
the president fell. He shouldn't be president. Did you see how Biden? Oh, Biden, he felt he's not fit for presidency. So Miss Morrow, she was two steps ahead. And she was right on the same page where you were when I said, no, it's just hair. So I'm just kind of, I'm down here on the low vibration thinking people. Where, like y'all trying to make cosmetology a little bit too hard. So with that being said, if you were to add Afro hair science to cosmetology, because when you're talking, it seems like you're going to take away from the artistic side that we're used to. We're used to learning how to highlight. We're used to learning how to, do the cold waves. We're used to learning, the stem curls, the pin curls. Now you have your tracks, your weaves. They even have, cornrow braiding and all of that. So if we get technical, Cheryl, and add with Afro hair, make this more technical, we lose all of that white stuff
well, let me ask you a question.
we've been used to learning.
Right, right. So when it comes to relaxers and cancer, that goes out the door. Now, all of a sudden, we need to be smart. We need to get deep. We need to really know something. What are you guys actually really doing? Do you guys know what you're doing? Because we're going to take it over, and you guys don't know what you're doing. So we're going to take it over. Now, the dermatologists don't know shit. Medical doctors don't know shit. So everybody now is just going, okay, so who told this researcher to do some shit on some shit we don't know about?
I
And
mean,
what
there's not, but people assume that doctors know this, that Afro hair science is not medicine, and so they
well,
are going
well,
to.
well, 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 let's not go there. As Dr. Savy would say, the only science is blackness. We were first. So, but with and see, and there is where the triggers become triggered, and black people don't know why white people keep having triggers and having phobias. They don't understand what's going on. I don't understand you, and your ass don't understand me. And we could soften the understanding if we can just get into that the differences are not differences because we are another species. We're different. Oh, excuse me. You're different because you are a variation of the fact that I exist.
Mm. Okay,
Because
well, you're
now let me ask you a question. We know Lucy exists, right?
right.
Okay. Where's Lucy from?
The interior, I think near like Ethiopia somewhere.
Okay, so the Great Lakes region,
Yeah.
Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, right?
Okay.
Or right at the land of the bow or the land of the Great Lakes region, right? Where life or mountains of the moon, that particular area, right? Right?
Okay.
All right, my brothers and sisters, right? And so there has a that environment or natural selection created in that and selected that particular part of the world to have the last great gestation of human beings, right? And so, as Sheikh Anta Joe would say, Homo sapien sapien, right?
Right.
Wise human, right? And so, once all of this stuff is known, now cosmetics and cosmetologists and beauty professionals and practitioners and had natural hair and colorists and estheticians. Well, why do we need to know that? Why? Because you're dealing with the public that in this arena is soft enough for us to be able to learn how to appreciate each other's differences. That's why.
Right. Well, okay, we following that, but in modern day times, so she got a little technical, taking us all the way back to how we all got here today. So in modern day times, right, we go jump on over a couple of couple of
1,000 years.
right?
Okay.
And so in the spirit of caring for Afro hair from you like what you're saying, here are two, let's just call them black and brown dermatologists who's giving advice on hair care. So we want you guys to just kind of get a feel for what professionals just quickly are saying about how to care for Afro hair, because I'm questioning Cheryl. She has all this fancy big language, and y'all know I'm real projectish. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so let's hear what these two black and brown. I don't know if the other lady would say that, but I'm going to say that. Here we go. What do we have to say about caring for our hair?
I'm Dr. Mona Gohara, a dermatologist in New Haven, Connecticut.
So my name is Dr. Adeline Kikam. I am a dermatologist and the founder of Brown Skin Derm. It's a platform dedicated towards everything skincare and derm in skin of color.
Oftentimes people clump hair and scalp hair together, like it's this thing, and sometimes they can be. Do you distinguish them, or do you kind of put them under the same umbrella?
So I put them together. Like one cannot be better without the other. They're all both needed. It's like this ecosystem of hair care.
Okay. So you have one dermatologist questioning another dermatologist about how to care for scalp conditions. Okay. And so a lot of times when customers come to the hair salon, most dermatologists don't do what Dr. Keekum did, which is put hair and scalp together. They just solely focus on the scalp, and the hair gets thrown out of the situation. So, given what and we're just kind of bringing this in because the Afro Hair Summit is happening, and people, cosmetologists, and barbers, we are inviting the medical community to please come out and learn from us about Afro hair. So let's give them a little bit of what would they expect to learn of something like that, because scalp is very important. And so here's a dermatologist that says put them together. So give everybody, I have two more questions, but give everybody a good backdrop to understanding how are you caring for scalp issues with this Afro hair issue? Because now you got braiding, you got all this stuff happening. So they didn't kick relaxers to the curb, but you got issues with braiding. So what's up with scalp hair? Should it be together? Is it one? Give them a little bit. And this is going to kind of answer why we're putting this summit on. It's going to give you some insight, rather.
I think that now she has the luxury of saying hair and scalp is together. Now, when cosmetology puts scalp and hair together, we need to go to them for the scalp stuff, but they don't get to come to us for the hair stuff.
Did y'all hear that? Okay, let me calm down.
So you want to put it together. That's fine and dandy. I'm so glad you got on board. However, we already know what's in your medical book and we know how you're trained. And so Cheryl Morrow wants to train cosmetologists and barber stylists and natural hair care providers, give you the dermatological piece. So if there are issues, at least you would know how to have, here again, I talk about language. You need to have the language so you can communicate with your endocrinologist, your gynecologist, and your dermatologist. And the general medical practitioner. You need to know a little pharmacology. You need to know what medications have indications for hair loss or any other thing that would attack the immune system, and then have issues with your body's beauty environment, which is your immune system. Now, did I digress? I digress. However,
no, you got it because I think I think lawmakers and people in education don't understand is that the customers who come to barbershops and hair salons, to your point, Ms. Morrow, in the chat, they are not looking for mere hair stylists. They want us to know more about what's happening. They really, really, really do. And so the higher or the more, I don't know what's the better word. I'm sure Sandra's going to get me together. So go ahead on Sandra and check me right quick. But the more education, higher thought processes are needed to help us meet the demands of what people are looking for behind the chair. So you are dead on in your example, but just kind of, move that needle just a little bit more because people may not think it's very real. Like, is that a Black issue? Is a scalp problem something? Because white people could be like, well, we don't braid our hair, so we don't really want to know about that. So push that needle just a little bit more on why, understanding both, or how that should be approached.
Absolutely. And I think that once the Afro perspective and textures, Afro natural perspectives get into the norm and become standard, they also too will learn about remedies, cures, prevention for their hair and scalp conditions and disorders. So we will all be talking the same language. And I know that some Europeans cultures don't know that we use oil for certain things and that we don't use them for bacterial and viral issues. You see, and that they are applying oil to certain conditions, and that's why they're not getting rid of it. Do you understand? And so we go in and get to understanding that, so the slaves that came to this country were very bright. They had lives. They were doing things or whatever else, they're farmers or whatever the case may be. But they have very tried and true methods and techniques that were just went untalked about or unshared, shall I say. And our culture has moved those things forward and expanded to them, and then of course launched and created new things, and they will get to find out that how behind they are in some of their beauty regimens and trends. So having a Afro Hair Summit is not just about teaching them the arts and sciences of Afro curly hair, but it is also about sharing some of the things we do for prevention and preservation. And so, in that, they too will also impart and share what their culture does. It is, I think, the conversation's time has come. I mean,
Right.
and
Yeah. Yeah. The time has definitely come, because when we look at other issues that's happening in hair right now, let's take braiding. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but I'll just put the picture up. We talked about it last week, but I'm just gonna just kind of quickly show you that this whole issue around educating the natural hairstylists, because this is really where we are all concerned. There is, I mean, a lot of even professional hairstylists are conflicted on this one. Education for the natural hairstylists here in the state of Ohio has become a really hot topic, so to the much that last week, a Cleveland area state lawmaker was reprimanded after an aggressive state house interaction with the constituent, and that constituent was none other than me, Key Lolo. So it's actually made. Can y'all believe that? Hey Sandra, Miss Morrow, like, bro, I'm on your team. So as you can see, of course, and now it was not a good situation, but he has learned. He didn't know anything about Afro hair. He didn't know that it's not being taught. And so when we look at what's happening in braiding, we're seeing issues that are coming in the salon that we are not equipped. We don't have the vocabulary. And I saw you, Sandra. Oh, who was that? Somebody just put in the chat. Yes, Lady J. She says, so true, decodified. We have to address this because this is very real. They are making all types of tools like the Dyson Airstraight. Here's a hair dryer and a flat iron put together. The average cosmetologist is not going to be prepared for braiding and scalp conditions, technology. So what you're talking about, this language, is really, really, really important. But how do we get professionals to understand that we have to get this Afro hair education included, and we have to offer it to people, not just Black and brown people?
you know, it's very peculiar and bizarre how companies are still getting involved in natural hair for the sake of transitioning it to straightness. Like, it's still not really addressing, like what they're saying is, since your hair is natural, like all heat tools or whatever the case may be. I love me some heat tools, but just the whole paradigm shift of trying to involve themselves on a manufacturer level of any type of industrial inclusion that's still based on moving curly hair to straightness.
That's right.
And it's very bizarre. But to answer your question, in terms of just my whole thing with your whole experience and what cracked open, and thank you for just enduring that, Ladosha, because you took one for the team.
I did, but Sandra, I appreciate. Can I put up what Sandra said right quick while you get? Thank you, Sandra. I did take one for the team. It was hard.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we would have had some different headlines, I'm sure. But this is the visceral reaction we are trying to prevent. Because one of the things that hair we can get rid of those people, your people. And that was the basis of his trigger. He didn't think that he was part of the Afro conversation. And if you look at Mr. Forehand, his hair is quite thick. It's straight, but it's
He
quite,
had texture. We met with him in person. He does. He has products on that. He shaved the beard off, but he has texture in his hair.
yes. And so we are not saying that we are the owners of the textured hair, thick, and all that good stuff. But, and it's like Neil deGrasse, like he says, if you find the tallest human being, you're going to find them in Africa. You want to find the shortest human being, it's probably going to be Africa. You want the smartest person, it's going to be in Africa. The dumbest person, it's going to probably be in Africa. The point here is that and I know that the racist conversation is tough, but it's the preventive. It's the one thing that prevents us in living like imbeciles.
So you're saying that the Afro hair education would help us with this issue.
Absolutely.
Around. Okay, so let's hear. Here's another issue that we see a lot in the hair salons. Now, I'm not saying braiders are not in the hair salon, because we definitely have some here. And again, Spritz and I, we said all the time, we've been braiding hair. I don't know how they were able to carve this out as a niche. But anywho, here is something that we see a phenomenon a lot in the hair salons and also in natural hair salons or natural hair shops. And so again, once I play this clip, share with us this phenomenon and how Afro hair science can help.
Like every time I do any kind of hairstyle, box braids, mini twists, not mini twists, just regular twists, and mostly Fulani braids, I notice that this part of my head is so sensitive. I don't know what is it about this part of the head. So there are a couple of things that I like to try to help relieve the pain on my head, and it's okay to try as many things as possible because you're trying to find what works. And do note that I did tell my stylist before and when she was plaiting my hair that she needs to make her hand gentle because I've got a very sensitive scalp.
What you talking about, Will?
Can anybody relate to Miss Kataza Mbahombi? She has a sensitive scalp. Are they braiding too tight, or is her scalp sensitive? Or does she need to muscle up? Because, in certain African American communities and cultural practices, you a sissy if you can't take that tight braiding. So which one is it? In the name, in the spirit of Afro hair science, does she have a sensitive scalp, or is she a sucker and she can't take a job? Which one is she? Hold on, don't answer it. Wait a minute, show. Let's get this chat involved. Y'all kind of quiet. Lady J, is she weak? Am I right or wrong? You right. Am I weak or strong? You strong. Which one is she? Sandra, come on, guys. I see the chat is getting full. Is this young lady who has an issue with the braiding? She's asked her braider to be more gentler. She says she has a very tender scalp, but culturally, we would say she is tender headed, like she's a sissy. She can't take it. So let's see what they say. Now, remember, as you guys are anxiously typing your answer in the chat, the Afro Hair Summit is happening here in Cleveland, Ohio. It's going down July 15th through the 17th. We have educational workshops for licensed barbers, cosmetologists, natural hairstylists, the medical community, the political community is now invited after that almost slap in my face. So if you are a politician and you want to learn, come on and come and learn with us. We don't care if you're a mayor leader or a community representative, if you are in the political issue arena, come on, and we want to know. Per that video, is this lady, does she really have a sensitive scalp? Does her braider need to be more gentle because her scalp is very sensitive, or is she a crybaby? She tender-headed and she just can't take it. Shanette, what's up, Shanette? So Shanette says the intensity and strength of the pull is too much for the scalp and the follicle. So we got one bold person in the chat, and remember, you guys are our partners and you're helping to drive the discussion because this is not being talked about on other platforms. Miss AG says that her scalp is sensitive. Okay, so we got, hold on, Cheryl, get kind of good now. So we got one that's saying the pull is too tight, point blank. We have another one who said, it's a sensitive scalp. We have another one that says the braider just needs to lighten up. And they told Sandra said they told her that she was tender-headed and told her that she had she told them she had a tough face. Okay, I will tell you, when I was growing up, I was told that I was tender-headed, like you're a crybaby. We're not braiding too tight. You have to get used to having your scalp pulled. And I'm telling you, I'm 55 years old. That shit hurt. So I'm gonna go with Shanette. I think they're braiding too tight. Miss AG, you're an outlier here. You just said the scalp is too sensitive. So Cheryl, in the spirit of the Afro Hair Summit that's happening in Cleveland, what is the correct answer?
Okay, so in Wonders of the Scalp people, Black people, my question is to the people who answered, what metric grade system are you defining hyper, normal, or hypo sensitivity?
What that means? Sure, you know you're off in the projects. Come on, break it down.
What grading system are you saying? Sensitive, normal, or tough? What system did you ever learn that in school?
Well, I wasn't even, this never comes up in cosmetics. I don't know if there are any cosmetics.
I asked the question, I already know the answer. But I'm just, before you get started.
It never came up in cosmetology school. We never even talked about that braiding experience.
So, back to Mr. Kofi's answer. We made that up. Okay?
We made what up?
We made tender-headed. White folks ain't told you that your hair was tough and go get it. And if you can't take it, we don't have a metric system for hypersensitive or hyposensitive. Like it's tough. And then hypersensitive. We don't have a normal. We don't have no gauging system for that. We made it up because mamas did not have time to sit there and have that little girl be in comfort. She need to get her hair done, get her into bed so she can get into bed so we can go to, she didn't have time for that. Okay. We didn't have time for no crying. We didn't have no time for the babies to see an Afro comb and start freaking out. We didn't want, we didn't have nothing to gauge that we had. We had to get through it. And the best way we get through it is to gaslight the person and say they tender-headed. Okay. Now, I do understand in the class, we will understand that there's more nerves in the scalp than there is blood vessels. Okay, so I can, now let me ask you a question. I don't understand why I can take one hair, right? Because nerves is a signal. Why does one hair hurt more than just about the same as if you pulled out three hairs at the same time, right? Because you have a nerve ending, plus you have a muscle there. And so if you pull it, you're going to feel something. Now, why we have not I don't think that Africans naturally came to this country just braiding too tight. We have something. Here we go again. Black folks started this. How long is it gonna last?
What's up, Shanette? Shanette, she on it.
So pull my stuff tight as you can, because I want it to last 6 years. Please I don't want to do my hair for 6 months. I don't want to do it. I don't want to see it. I don't want nothing. So pull my brains out. You know, we get into all this stuff, and I know it's funny, but that's what Black folks trying to survive in certain things that get into urban legend and to our colloquialism.
But how do we end up blaming it on white people? Remember, we're talking about the Afro Hair Summit, and we now are hoping
we do it the same way they blame you.
What?
It's the same energy. It's not a different energy. We blame it because we don't want to deal with the pain it originally caused. It's called wound. It's psychological wounds. It's byproducts of the total experience. So your brain, because your brain is also connected to your immune system, it gives you the flight, fight, freeze, or fawn. Okay? And then your brain begins to rationalize why you did something. In other words, Black culture call it lying.
I got you. But we are now. Here's the thing. Before you go, we are inviting African braiders to come to the summit.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm trying to find a way to deliberately get them to come to the summit because there is, please, African people, I hope y'all don't come after me in the chat, but Americans do it too. And I think, who put this up here? We gotta address this, y'all. We gotta talk about this. Braids was so
wait a minute. Wait a minute, Miss Sandra. Now, whose fault is that? You knew when she started on that one braid, it was not going to end well. You sat there.
But the thing of it is, it's a hard conversation to have because of Jeanette, what you saying? Okay, let me try to. Ooh, that's a good one, Jeanette.
Okay, Miss Williams. Miss Williams, listen. Now, when y'all hear Miss what's her name? Who's coming? The braiding
Fatu.
When you guys hear Fatu tell us that we were never supposed to be braiding Black children, like there are certain things reserved for them that's not reserved for adults, and adults that's not reserved for children, right? And that is because the African innately understood that the scalp and it's being, in the development stages and cannot be disrupted. You see, their hair is left alone. Okay. We certainly can do that for our children and our young girls, and even us.
Right. The cornrow braiding. And again, we are talking the Afro Hair Summit, and this is why the education is really, really important, because that cornrow braiding, and it is just out of control. I think that some of the cornrow braiding deserves the same type of attention to the scalp and the mental health as does the relaxer. Because that aggressive pulling and that improper technique, I was shocked to go to West Africa in the Gambia to learn that cornrow braiding is really not even recommended for children. Now, we know that times go on and people will give their children beer and they shouldn't. you know, we know that parents will put some liquor on the gum to numb it because they don't have numbing cream. So we get that. But they really don't recommend this. And so we really have to have, this education because we're just getting it all, we're just getting it very, very, very mixed up. And so, Cheryl, when we talk about, braiders being able to benefit barbers. How can because a barber might say, well, I don't braid hair, or they come in with their hair already like that. How can a barber benefit from the education about braiding, the education about Afro hair
Well,
science?
well, well, the Afro Summit's going to be dealing with the African skin, and ingrown and bare and facial hair is included. And we all know that we have suffered from folliculus keloidalis and folliculitis, and they have turned that into a bump instead of understanding the scientific aspects of how curly hair grows on the face, below the nose, below the side of the temples, as it spread out under the cheeks, under the lip, and then onto the chin and neck, in the back. Black men still are the number one sufferers of keloids in the back, dealing with years of low haircuts, ingrown hair, in scalp issues with their baldies. So they need to be up in there too. They ain't got nothing. They can skip the braiding class if they want to, but there will be enough in the wonders of the scalp and in hair loss as well for them to be able to procure that and include that training inside of their facials, beards, and their shaving techniques, and to understand the directions of which how hair grows and the phenomenons of how black men's hair grows on their cheeks and their lips and neck.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. So, Lady J, you're right. Maybe a combination, of both. Everybody can learn something here at the Afro
And
Hair
yeah,
Summit.
don't men get their hair braided? Of course they
Yeah.
need to. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you're absolutely right, Lady J. So a combination, of the of all the disciplines all of the classes that we're teaching. So I have another video that I'm going to highlight as we get ready to wrap this up. But let me just walk you guys through what's going to happen, and then Cheryl, you're just going to kind of fill in. So the first day, we are going to have West African braiding métier. So everybody out here is saying, "What the ham sandwich is métier?"
But
Help us with that. Métier. What is métier? Because you're African and you done threw in something. Is that French? I mean, what we doing up in here? I thought y'all was African. What y'all saying? What is métier?
that's just the double colonialism of west parts of Africa, which is French. It is a French for a term like haute couture, which means high, and it just means a high learned person, high learning institution. And my education is very high, and so y'all say, "Oh, well, we can't get that." Well, as soon as you learn the word, y'all be saying it.
All right.
If you can say vuitton, you can say métier.
Métier. All right. Vuitton. You can say métier. So we're gonna do West African braiding métier, and I think we just did a good job of sharing with you all what that class is going to entail. And again, we are inviting barbers, cosmetologists, natural hairstylists, the medical community. You guys are invited, and we just added politicians. By the way, Elliot Forehand, he is going to come to the class. Now, he ain't gonna sit in all of them. Now, come on now, y'all. But he is going to show up, and he wants to learn more. And it's sure now we have a wonderful surprise for you guys on behalf of State Representative Elliot Forehand. So that's number one. Number two, we're going to have Afro hair spirituality. Now, is this hocus pocus focus? What you talking about, Willis, when you're talking about some Afro hair spirituality? And we're just kind of going through this quickly, guys, because we know you guys got to go, but help them understand what is Afro hair spirituality? What you talking about? Because in Ohio, that's kind of scary. We're kind of conservative in Ohio.
Really? Afro spirituality is a conversation that has been on demand. They have demanded that and they have asked us for it, but it is a discussion which much more is interactive. However, there is a presentation, and it deals with the spiritual aspects, such as, let's say, the actually it's much more time for us to address why we have certain rituals, why we have certain techniques, why did the certain things come about that we do to preserve energetically. We also, I'm going to bring the Book of Combs, which is a piece that I have not released, but the Book of Combs is to talk about the spiritual aspects of the Afro comb, and
Ooh!
what the crown chakra, what the crown head, the God seat, what that is about, and why hair is also connected to the interpersonal, which is the spirit of the human experience, and what it represents and how we use it to align ourselves with nature and in society. And I
All
think that
right.
it will fuel our relationship to have a better relationship with our hair and our beauty process.
All right, so there you have it. That's Afro hair spirituality. Now, remember, guys, we cannot point out enough. We're very chatty Cathy in this platform, but when we do this in person, we can't we can't stay there all night. So we're just kind of graduating into some of this, giving you guys a little snippet. So that's going to be held at Larchmere Arts, and that's here in Shaker Heights, Ohio. And the one and only microphone diva is going to delight us with some poetry. And then we're going to have some free, nice, nutritious snacks there. Okay. So it's going to be a wonderful, just this is free. It's for the whole family. It's a small, intimate setting. You guys can just chop it up and just listen to Cheryl, just go and take good notes. Okay. And then after that, meet us down at Academy Tavern where we could just get crunked up and network. Don't drink too much because we got to wake up the next morning and we're going to have to go over. She said, what? So the next day, that's Sunday, we're going out to Strongsville, Ohio to the Brown Aveda Institute as we learn salon métier featuring coil mechanics. So again, these are introductory courses. So we don't have all day because it's a lot. So Cheryl, just briefly highlight salon métier featuring coil mechanics.
You will be learning how to view, diagnose, prognose, handle, comb, brush, blow dry, every physical mechanic to be able to style curly hair from its character, integrity, okay, and to be able to interact with it in a style paradigm. This is probably your artistic component,
Ooh. All
right?
right. So if you,
So,
no matter,
in fact, this one over here, okay, is going to be also teaching salon métier, because it is very important, coil mechanics, because I have never had a problem with any texture, because I understand what each texture, where regardless of the spectrum it is, it's to very dominant and very, coarse to very soft, feathery, and straight. Okay.
okay.
So it depends on, on how you look at it. We're going to make sure that we adjust those viewpoints and get those skills up to par so it makes styling much more enjoyable.
Right. We want to make it fun for everybody. So anybody out there who's saying Afro hair is difficult to manage, I don't care what you are. If you're one of those people who's charging for detangling services because you don't want to deal with it, you don't know how, you're afraid, whatever your rationale is, I promise you, if you come in this class, the class is only $45. It's very affordable. Okay. We got some wonderful treats that comes with the class. You're going to get a free comb, and we've got some really cool, some samples of some hair care products. So it's going to be really, really cool for licensed professionals. And you're going to get the opportunity to see just how easy it is. And we're going to have real live models with all these varying Afro textures of hair. So this is going to be side by side peer coaching at its finest with the Revis design team, showing everybody just how easy it is after Cheryl breaks that down. Then afterwards, we're going to hustle on over to the Caramel House for the first. Finally, we're going to have a State of the Union. That's right. A State of the Union, okay? Address Afro Hair Forum. This is going to be facilitated by Enlightened Solutions. They are they're hosting just a wonderful, wonderful study called Project Noir on this. This is what's happening to Black women in Cleveland. So they're going to be there to help facilitate, get those questions. Cheryl's going to be in the hot seat, and that's going to be broken down into 3 categories. And we have some goodies and some giveaways for the public, and that's going to be free at the Caramel Theater, and that's going to be that Sunday afternoon. Again, it's for the whole family. So get grandma, get your old school auntie who's still doing hair in the basement. Come on. Get your uncle, get everybody. Come on out and let's talk about Afro hair. It's time to have a wonderful discussion. And white, Puerto Rican, everybody just to freaking come on over to the Caramel that Sunday. And then that Monday, guess what? I hope you guys are ready. You remember Stetson Sonic? Sure, they all know who Stetson Sonic is. Brace yourself for the ultimate rare. That's right, y'all. What's up, go Stetson? Because Cheryl Morrow is going to have that whole day to herself. And I'm going to be front and center in the class of Afro Hair Science. So Cheryl, take it away as we close this out and tell them what can they expect in your class of Afro Hair Science. Waverly Willis is going to be our keynote speaker. We're going to have a book bar, and Catlin Naturals is going to be there when we take a break so we can just pamper ourselves and buy some goodies for ourselves. But this is not a hair show, not a trade show, no hair care products for sale, straight books, straight knowledge. So Cheryl, take it away. What can they expect?
Well, first of all, make sure that you go to CVS or Rite Aid or Walmart or whatever you need to do. You better get 2 pads. No, 2 notebooks. Okay. You're not going to want, there you go. You're not going to want to miss it because it's highly detailed. And you are going to not only get 63 years of my father's experience and not wisdom and knowledge, and in some of his writings and portfolio, things have never been published, but you're also going to get my finished works that has expounded. You're going to get cosmetic trichology. You're going to get Wonders of the Scalp. It's going to blow your mind because we're going to talk about and begin with Afro metamorphosis. We're going to be talking about dysmorphia. We're going to, in the hair loss, we're going to talk about men's hair loss. We're going to talk about everything is going to be from a Black perspective. We're going to dive into the transatlantic slave trade, what that was about and what did it, how we experience life here in the Western world, but how we rose to be the world's beautiful people, and what that 100-year escapade and odyssey has been about. It drives us into the present day. We're going to be dealing with some chemistry, biology, dermatology.
They like, oh, that's a whole lot. Now remember, guys, we're gonna have this broken down in specific, time frames with some questions. We're really gonna be moving fast with this because this is a lot to cover. We're gonna start on time and we're gonna get out on time. And also, it's just gonna prove a need of why we should do it again. Next year, make it bigger, make it better, and break these topics down into bigger classes. But we really want to, introduce these concepts. They're gonna be 5 concepts, and Cheryl just broke them down for you guys.
Business and then some retail business, and then
yeah. Yep. So we're gonna have that. We're gonna make some little videos that you guys can watch. That class is only $55. We have some T-shirts for sale. If you visit AfroHairScience.com, that you can see all the goodness that we have to offer. You guys have, as always, when I tell you, you all are absolutely phenomenal. We appreciate you guys for going on this journey with us. When we decided to do this live stream, this podcast. We did not have this type of vision in mind, but we believe Afro hair science needs to be taught, and we're making it available to those who want to learn, regardless of your race, color, where you work at, how much hair you have, don't have. The classes are very affordable for a reason, okay? And so we're not going to bombard you with buying hair care products. There's no ulterior motive. So just come and get the knowledge. And Cheryl, do you want to wrap us up? Next week, we're going to be talking about the role of the doctor. People are asking, should doctors be sitting with cosmetologists learning about Afro hair? I mean, really? Where they do that at? I mean, doctors don't really sit next to, I mean, really, come on now.
Well, let me say this.
Okay,
And
so
this,
and then
right, this is my little closing comment. So, what I would like to say to address the different sensitivities on different areas of the scalp. Thank you. And the the top, we call this the apex, doesn't have a lot of fat. What we call subcutaneous fat layer, because the bone is the highest. It comes to a point, comes to a peak. There is usually a lot of injury. Baldness starts there because there's not a lot of fat buffer and not a lot of membrane, wet, fatty tissue there. So there's not a lot there. So that area tends to be quite sensitive. Maybe the nerve endings are a lot more exposed, just a lot less buffer and tissue, subcutaneous tissue there. So,
well, so you're trying to say
that for
right. So you're trying. Hold on, I got a little video for that. Okay, here goes. Here go a little video because she's trying to say that we Black people, like we got, when we talk about making stuff up, right? Nappy hair, tender headed. How's this for what we have made up? As Cheryl gets ready to close this out, I'm quoting Cheryl a little snippet from last week, or just all right. Here we go. Here we go.
Guess what they called white people's hair? What did you guys call it in the 90s? And bragged about it. You guys said it with such like with such honor. You called it 100% human. You called it human because you would brag about even the hair you would buy in the store. So 100% human hair would be akin to straight hair, but you called your hair natural.
I think that's a perfect example of modern day language of how we create terms like nappy hair and tender headed. That's the perfect example. We're doing this, guys. We cannot blame this on white people. We are doing this to ourselves. So, Cheryl,
you guys see the comedian Bill Burr says, "Boy, you got to keep some Black friends," because he didn't even know he was ashy. Like white folks don't make no words up like that. We are some interesting characters. We will make up a word for. We don't even have a really thriving lotion market in the continent of Africa. But we zoomed on in it when we got here and said we need some lotion because we ashy. I mean, it's just, we are the most fascinating people. We gonna think of a word for something. And that's one of the reasons why my father used to always raise me and my brother by saying there's no reason for a black man or a black woman to be broke. We will make up a condition called ashy and don't sell not one piece of lotion. I'm just
So there you have it. These are some of the dumbest shit that we say, but we got to own up to it. It's just part of our lexicon, if you know what I mean.
I mean, that's what we did with the word, nigga. I mean, this shit isn't an, you call your best homie. I mean, you know what I mean? We had took all that hate out that word. I mean, it's not
even dope. Y'all like when we took dope?
Yeah. Dopamine is what dope came from. So now, wow, I didn't even think about that.
Fresh.
No, I seriously had not thought about that. But
what about you? What about fresh? They had a song. I'm FRESH. Fresh. Yo, that's fresh. Fresh don't even have the same meaning because these are some of the things that we do. And when we say dumb as shit, guys, we're not being insulting. We're really just laughing at ourselves. Okay, so please don't take that offensively because you just can't get any dumber than that shit's dope. Okay, Cheryl, take it away, and we're going to see you guys next week.
Good. I hope that, the Afro Hair Summit finds you in the seat. I find you in the seat. I can learn from you. You can learn from me, hopefully, and we can dialogue and we can make our grandchildren, people that will never meet us, they'll say, thank you for those individuals for taking this on and finally dealing with this so our children and grandchildren do not have to fight this over again. This is ridiculous. This generation is going to stop it.
All right, my boss Lavina is going to be. You guys are going to get a chance to meet my boss too in real life. So thank you guys. So that's right. Drop them L's in the chat. Even if you're watching it posted live, my boss Lavina is definitely going to be there. So we thank you guys very much. We'll be back next week, and we will be discussing should the medical community really be sitting next to barbers, cosmetologists, and natural hairstylists learning about just hair, period. Okay. This is going to be a good one. Thank you guys so much for joining us. You know what, Cheryl? Can we give away a ticket? Can we give away one? So come on back next week, and we're going to give one ticket away to the West African Métier. We'll give away one free ticket to the Salon Métier featuring Core Mechanics, and we'll give one ticket away to Cheryl's Afro Hair Science class. And so join us next week. We will be back at 6:00, and my boss is in the chat with the last word. She says, educate all. Thank you, Lavina. I love you. Bye, guys. You all are the absolute best.